division with one good team. Colts 11-6. I don't buy the Titans. Arthur Smith leaves. I think he's a tremendous coordinator. Don't know if he works as a head coach. Ryan Tannehill regresses. Too Derrick Henry dependent. I still don't trust the pass rush or the secondary. 8-9 Titans. Jacksonville's fun to watch.
Welcome to your favorite Tennessee Titans podcast, Tennessee Titans Weekly. Jacques. What's up, folks? What is good, everybody? Good morning, wherever you might be. Welcome. How is everybody?
Right.
Jacques, what's good, brother?
Man, I can't call it Hawk, man. We've been on a hiatus. I know people, it's life hits you. You know what I mean? A lot of things happening in life, but we're back. We're definitely back. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited for this season. I ain't never been excited for a Titans season. Actually, I'm going to be honest with you, ever. Like, this is an exciting season, and it's getting close. Man, we got like 2 weeks. I think they said training camp starts on the 28th, I believe.
Yep.
I believe. Don't quote me on that, guys. If you know, put it in the comment section. But I believe training camp starts on the 28th. But whenever it starts, I'm excited and I'm geeked. And this is gonna be fun, man. This is gonna be a fun season. And football's back, and I actually get to go to the games. This is gonna be exciting.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And we have a lot of things when the season does start. We got a lot of things getting cooked up. Just be ready. And we tell y'all that every year, and we've been right ever since. And so we got a lot of things that's going to be bubbling up during the season. We are excited. I know you guys are excited. It's just Jacques said he's excited. I am as well. I've never been this excited going into the season, especially with the roster that we have. I'm very confident in our roster. And as I said in the previous show, I honestly believe that the Tennessee Titans, will win the Super Bowl. Of course, all the pieces have to go right? They all have to be together, injuries and those things. I think that's the key component is, can everybody be healthy? If we're healthy, we're going to be there. So just enjoy the ride, and we'll be there. Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
Nope. You right, Hawk. It's enjoy the ride, hop on it, and let's get it cracking. And so actually training camp starts on July 28th. So this is going to be fun.
Gotcha, man. Gotcha, Jacques. Well, speaking of training camp, so every year we are at training camp every year. Okay. And, we've even talked about it in our previous shows. Right after training camp, we kind of discussed what we've seen. And I'd say about 90% of the time, the things we saw was correct. Okay. Like what we see kind of trickulates over to the season. So training camp, Jacques, we can't go this year, man. They're not allowing fans to go to training camp,
Nope.
And so we were looking forward to it. And you told me about it yesterday. I was like, man, dude, you got to be kidding me. I was really looking forward to this. And we were going to do some things there, in the training camp as far as, the team and those things. But that's okay. That's all right. When we're still in the off season right now, but once the season starts ramping up, you'll see our two faces much more often. Believe that. Just like we always do. Right.
Yep.
So Jacques, man, on the training camp, man, I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, the way that they're going to do now, I mean, what's your thoughts on that, man?
So, of course, I don't like it. And if you don't know why they're doing it, it's because they're doing construction at the actual practice facility. So they're adding things. It's supposed to be amazing. So, ironically, I just came back from Vegas, and I actually got to see the Raiders practice facility. It's amazing. So the Titans have to do a lot of catching up. So I see why they're not allowing fans, and they're trying to utilize every inch of space that they have while they're doing construction. So I understand it. Do I like it? No, I don't. I can't stand it. But what I've heard is, of course, like they did last year, where the Titans are actually Amy Wells and Mike Q, shout out to them. They're going to be doing like the video side of letting everybody watch training camp, the videography and everything like that. So it's cool, but I would love to be there because, like Hawk just said, we had things in the works at training camp. I think you guys would have loved, but I don't like it. But I understand it, but I don't like it because I'm ready to physically be there, and it feels like, man, it's a long ways to go until we can actually step foot in the stadium. And I haven't stepped foot in the stadium yet, besides one of those little event I went to. But I'm ready to step foot into somebody's football field or somebody's something. So it kind of sucks. but I understand it. What about you, Hawk? How you feel about it, man?
Yeah, man. Yeah, because we had certain segments of our show that we were going to do that was correlating with being at training camp, and so that has to be cut at the time, and that's okay. But as everything in life, you make adjustments, right? And sometimes you just have to adapt to changes, as we always have to do, right? So for us, we will be watching it via video. They'll give you an opportunity, just like last year, to watch it on Facebook, Instagram, and those things. So we're gonna keep our eye on it, and we're gonna stay on top of it and things of that nature. So no, I don't like it either, because I like being there, interacting with people, the fans that are there. I mean, it's a great environment, great atmosphere. It gives you a straight up look at everybody, and it's free. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
It's free.
and it's not far from where we are. I mean, in 10 to 15 minutes, I'm there. So
Right.
And that's been my norm forever. And so I've just still adapting to the many changes of the world, of course. But we'll make it through. We'll figure out, how we can look at the team and things and give you all our perspective upon what we've seen on training camp. And I'm telling you, things many times we've talked about that, they've come into fruition, and we plan on doing the exact same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to it. The players already seem, and even in the offseason now, they seem pumped, and we are too. So let's get it cracking, man, for real.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
So, Hawk, we've heard about rosters, right? We know what a roster is. It consists of people, right? If you're playing any sports, right? So I've been buzzed, been hearing things in the media. Some people like our roster, so a lot of people. Some people don't. A lot of people do. ESPN did a polling series where they polled your conference. So we know that we're in the AFC South. And the Titans, out of the AFC South, had the most players on that polling series of players that's the top 10 players out of the AFC South. We had a total of 7. Colts had a total of 3. Jags and Texans had 1, okay? 1 apiece. How do you feel about our roster? Is our roster elite? Is it just overhyped? I mean, talk to me, man.
Bro, that's a great question. And those in the comments, put your thought on that as far as our roster. Do you all feel that we have an elite roster? My answer is we do have an elite roster. We do, especially on offense. We were already a top 5 offense last year, okay? Without Taylor Lewan, one of the best left tackles in the league. Without Julio Jones, who was with the Atlanta Falcons last year. You know what I'm saying? Right. Julio, right? So, now when you look at our roster, we lost Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis, but we've replaced them, especially with Julio Jones, right? And we got Taylor Lewan coming back. So the pieces are still there, maybe even better, right? Because now the pressure's not so much on Derrick Henry, because we do have elite receivers on the outside. You look at the top 10 receivers that they have listed in the NFL, we have 2 of those, okay? Julio and A.J. Brown, okay? Our offense is elite. There's no question about that. No one wants to see our offense. I'm telling you. I mean, what are you going to do? Stop the run if you want. Cool. Stack 8 in the box. Then have your corners one-on-one with the Julio and A.J. Brown on the outside. Go for it. We dare you, right? We absolutely have an elite offense as far as a roster standpoint. And I understand in the AFC South, for us to have the most of any team, any division in all of football, as far as the team itself, we have 7 out of 10 or 11 on our team. Now, on defense, again, that's where the question is. Do we have an elite defense? Again, I've said in our previous show, I honestly don't think we have to have an elite defense, but we do have to have them at least in the middle of the pack defense for us to be successful. Just hold just long enough for us to be successful on offense, okay? So I think overall, when you look at offense and defense, I'm not going to say it's elite, as far as because of our defense. We still have, work in progress. I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't know what Bud Dupree is going to bring yet, because he's still, coming off an injury, right? We know what Danico, Autry will bring on defense, right? Our linebackers, Jayon Brown was out most of the year last year. He's back. We know what he brings. You got Rashaan Evans, and then our DBs, we still have a collective of DBs. We still have Hooker and Byard, even though Byard did not have a good season last year. I've been watching a lot of tape of Byard right now. Byard is definitely focused. He is ready. him and Jeffrey Simmons is who I've seen the most. It seemed to be out there practicing. Kevin Byard was just practicing with Logan Ryan. You know what I'm saying? Logan was here. They were working hard. MMCNB, my man catches no balls or whatever. So, the defense is where I'm still, we don't know yet. No one knows. No one can say our defense is going to be elite. We don't know that. We don't know that yet. They are building. And so right now, our front seven is better than it was last year, at least from on paper. If our defense can be middle of the pack, we can win the Super Bowl. And by me saying that, I'm going to say our roster is elite, especially our offense is unbelievable. Okay, it's unbelievable. It's a top 3 offense going into the year next year. So that's my thoughts. What about for you, man?
So, and when I think of rosters, right, and I think of how many people on your rosters that are one that has done things, high draft picks, or stars. The Titans have never had a roster like this. Even be dated back to the Steve McNair, Eddie George days.
Yep.
You can count about 4 or 5 people on that roster that was like, oh, they pretty decent. They're good, right? When I look at our roster and I count down our roster, we got Tannehill, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. We got Roger Saffold. We have, and this is just offense. Hell, we got Nate Davis. I can put Nate Davis in that category. Ben Jones, I can put in that category. Reynolds, I think he's gonna do some things.
Yep.
And then even just going the roster period, offense on defense, Bud Dupree, Janoris Jenkins, the Jackrabbit, Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, Danico Autry, Jeffrey Simmons. Tier Tart. I even give Tier Tart credit. He was the best rookie we had last year. If we want to include the rookies, Caleb Farley, he was a first-round pick. Molden was supposed to be a high draft pick. So Rashad Weaver. We have a roster that is so stacked, it is ridiculous. And I think if this was the Titans 2 or 3 years ago, they wouldn't know what to do with this. But this is the Titans of 2021. They're so focused, they know what to do with this, right? We even got this. Is it Deshaun? Not Deshaun Kaiser, the quarterback, a backup quarterback.
Yeah, Deshaun Kaiser.
Deshaun Kaiser, who's a former first-round pick. Okay, with the Cleveland Browns. All right, I've heard he's been showing out in minicamp. So the competition level has went up, and it's continued to go up and get just different things, right? It's continuing to garner attention that I don't like sometimes, because when you put the spotlight on the Titans tend to digress. But I'm like, also it's getting hate as well from the usual suspects in the media that I'm not going to name. They usually hate on the Titans for some reason, which I don't know why. But when I look at this roster is elite on paper. Yes. Like you said, offensively, we'll be fine. We did that. We were top five offense without our main players, including Corey Davis, who got replaced by Julio Jones. Then you add replacements in Adam Humphries, who Reynolds, I believe, is going to ball out. Firks is going to ball out. Even I'm going to say this, the rookie Fitzpatrick is going to fall out. He's going to ball out, excuse me. He's going to ball out. I've seen him working with Corey Davis. He was working out with Corey Davis, people, okay? This shows me that he is trying to learn the game, and he's trying to pick everybody's brain in the league. He don't care who he do it from. Julio, AJ, Corey used to play for the Titans, Jerry Rice, somebody. He's just picking everybody's brain. So I feel like, hey, this roster is so elite that's why they brought in Jim Schwartz on the defensive side of the ball. You think about it. You didn't just bring him in just to sit there and look like this. You brought him as a consultant, because if Shane Bowen gets to doing what he did last year, hey, Jim, come on up.
Yep.
And we know what Jim Schwartz was able to do when he was with the Titans, when we had that elite defense, when we had Albert Haynes.
Facts. No paper.
So I unlike everybody else with the defense, since there's a big question mark on it, yes, it's a question mark with me, but it's a good question mark, because it's like John Robinson put a contingency plan in there. And if you understand how contingency plans work, if this plan don't work, we got this right here. And I think if you start to see success out of the defense, It's not just Shane Bowen. I'm going to give Shane Bowen credit a little bit, but that's Jim Schwartz in the background saying, hey, blitz more. Hey, you might want to switch these two out. Hey, you might want to do this. Hey, I think you might want to do this versus this. Hey, you might want to do this versus this. So, and I look at our roster period. When I hear the media saying, oh, the Colts are still going to win the AFC South, I'm like, okay, Keep thinking that. You go right ahead. You think that. I don't know what roster y'all looking at, but the roster that I see, I'm like, hold on. This versus this. I keep seeing Colts fans, why didn't we go out and get Julio Jones? That's a great question. Maybe Julio didn't want to play for y'all because if you think about it, even when we have Julio ain't got to do too much. And I think that's what Julio's more excited about even more. So roster-wise, roster's super elite, man. Yep. We haven't had our roster is competing. Actually, we're competing with the Bucks. If I got to put us up there in comparison to rosters, the Cleveland Browns, the Bucks, the Chiefs, after that, yeah, I'm even trying to think of another roster that I can just put up there that's stacked. You know what I mean? It got teams that are super stacked. Maybe the Rams I can put up there a little bit.
Because of their defense. Right.
Because of their defense. There's teams that are super stacked on both sides of the ball.
Right.
Tampa Bay is super stacked on both sides of the ball. They got names. When I'm thinking of rosters, I'm not thinking of play. I'm thinking of names. Right. The Titans have names on both sides of the ball. Right. Does the Colts have the same names on both sides of the ball? No. I'll wait. Crickets. Nope. Cricket. Okay. When I think of just the names, I'm like, okay, the Chiefs have names on both sides of the ball. Right. Now, when I think of names, I think of the Browns and people. Trust me, me and Hawk have been talking about the Browns for years, but the Browns have names on both sides of the ball. They're just as stacked as we are. We almost a carbon copy of each other. Mine is Nick Chubb and Hunt being a double feature back, and Derrick Henry's just one person. He's a demigod, right? So, yes, we have an elite roster, and it's just going to get better, people, because once we start winning, you imagine next year where everybody wants to come here, because you've had players say, hey, I want to come to Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, I'm over here, Mr. John Robinson. Hey, come pick me up. So John's smart. He knew what he did. He said, get these big-name players in. It's going to attract other free agents, and they're going to come in, and it's going to make the roster even better.
Yep. And you was talking about ESPN, I want to say his name. I don't know if I doubt it get flagged the video. Colin Cowherd said we're going to go 8-9. Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
He said that last year too, that we're going to be 8-8, second in the division. So I don't know what mirror he's looking through or what lens he's looking at. I have no idea. But
go ahead.
Definitely not an 8-9 roster. That would be a disappointment if that happened. We're not an 8-9 team. We've had 8-8 teams many years, and we've seen that. And a lot of it was based on our offense, not our defense. So we had a great defense in those years. Our offense just couldn't score enough points. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so, man, we got an elite roster, man.
Yeah, Cowherd, man, he's a character, man. I seen that too, 8-9, and I was like, I like it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it, because that's more fuel to the fire. Right. And you just keep proving him wrong and make him look like an idiot, because he's an idiot. And you go from there. So,
And even y'all, if you look at, we'll have, we as we do every year, we will have a schedule show. Mm-hmm. And we were dead on last year. Dead on. Okay. We both said 11-5, and I didn't know what his record was going to be. He didn't know mine either. And that's exactly where they finished. And there's no way, I've already looked at it. I mean, there's no way we're going to be 8-9.
Nah, it's not. I've looked at it too, and I'm with you, Hawk. That's the most. I don't know if he does that for just clicks and views and just to get everybody riled up, but he does. He most likely don't think that he's playing. Like, quit playing, Colin.
Right.
Quit playing.
You gotta get some clicks, and you gotta get some views on your show. So why not dig at a team that has a great roster that people are sort of expecting to do better, and let's say, you know what? No, I don't think that. Just because I don't think that, right? Let's get some views up here. You know what I mean? So, So speaking of training camp, and speaking of our 8-9 2021 Tennessee Titans, according to Cowherd and other ESPN analysts. So with training camp coming here, man, within the next few weeks here, I mean, who do you expect to have a good training camp? I mean, looking at where we are on our roster, I'm speaking of rookie, I'm speaking of veteran, speaking both. Who do you think this year will say, you know what, last year, even though we finished 11-5, number one in the AFC South, we just underperformed in the playoffs. We still had a hell of a season at the end of the day. Who do you feel will say, that was last year, this year, I'm being better. I'm with it. Let's go. Who do you feel would have a good training camp, rookie and veteran?
Okay. So I'm gonna give you my veteran first. I'm actually it's gonna go off the rails, but I'm gonna say Rashaan Evans. I feel like Rashaan Evans is gonna have a good training camp because he has a lot to prove. He's coming into a contract year 1. Okay, so you know how players are when they come in their contract year, they tend to show out.
Facts,
right?
no paper.
And he has a lot of proving to do, like a lot of proving, because he digressed last year.
Mm-hmm.
He digressed. Stats was still okay, but in some instances, man, some things you lost those games, dog. Like it was because of him. Like, and you don't just digress like that. So I feel like in training camp, he has something to prove, and he has a couple of rookies. He's a veteran now. He's not a rookie no more, right? You got Monty Rice who's asking him questions. He's teaching these players. So I feel like Jayon's gonna be okay. Byard's gonna be okay. Hook will be okay. They'll be okay. But Rashaan has a lot to prove, and I feel like he's going to be more focused coming into this training camp in this year. And I think he'll have a big training camp. My rookie, Fitzpatrick. I feel like Fitzpatrick has put in work ever since he's gotten drafted. I follow Fitzpatrick on Instagram, man. And shout out to you, Fitz, man. If you ever watch the show, hey, I'm rooting for you, brother. His work ethic is amazing to see. Because he's one of those players that I even doubted to pick when we picked him up. And I was like, we should have got a receiver early. But I said, let me be fair. Let me put my emotions in the trunk. Let's look at this logical. Let's look at what this kid can do. And I started looking at tape, and I said, man, this kid is not bad. I said, he needs to work on certain things. But the addition of having Julio Jones to come in here and teach you stuff, people, if you don't realize in Atlanta, when Julio was in Atlanta, that's how Calvin really became great. That's how Gage became great. That's how it was not T. Higgins. Is it T. Higgins?
Nah.
Not T. Higgins. They picked that rookie up, man. His name is slipping my mind, but he was pretty solid. Julio tends to be a teacher, and he's a talker, but he also by actions. And I can see Dez. Dez is a type of kid that he looks at your actions and he looks and is like, okay, if I twist my feet that way, or if I come out of my break with a wider stance, if I do this, boom. Like I mentioned earlier, he was working out with Corey Davis. He's poaching for knowledge. He's poaching. He's wanting to be great. Right. And what I like, and his focus is amazing. Even in the mini camp, the rookie mini camp they had, he looked nervous. He looked like he was trying to get his feet wet, get the feel of things. But when Julio came in, I said, hold on. His stride is different. He's coming out of his breaks a little quicker. Mm-hmm. He's coming around the corner. And if you can teach people, I don't know, people, if you understand this, I would rather work with somebody that wants to learn versus somebody that thinks they know everything. Because what happens with that person that wants to learn, he or she is going to make mistakes. And as they're making mistakes, they're learning. And as they're learning, they're becoming great. And all of a sudden, they are great. That's what I like to see. So I feel like Fitzpatrick is going to come in the training camp more focused. He's going to come into training camp, and you're going to see a different side of him. I hope he doesn't run himself to where he gets hurt, because and then he's in an overcrowded receiver room. So it's going to definitely be hard for him to get those important snaps. But I think if he comes into training camp and preseason showing himself, we got something for the future. Remember, this is a pick not for now, but for the future. Okay. This is a future pick, because if Reynolds is only here for a year, Fitzpatrick, that's your slot position. Go ahead, my friend, do your thing. So when I see those two, I'm like, okay, I'm expecting big things in training camp from those two. So that's for me. And by the way, his dad is a receivers coach, so I already know his focus is there. What about you, Hawk?
So great breakdown, Jock, of both players. Okay, and I'm excited to see those things happen. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm going with my boy from MTSU, Middle Tennessee State, the Middle Tennessee State. For all the former teammates of mine, Cold Blue, we all know that for the Titans. But for us, as far as MTSU, man, hey, we know this Kevin Byard. We know that right now he's playing at a level that he didn't need to play with last year. And all my guys that played in MT, we watched Byard, you know what I mean? And, I think Kevin Byard will come in this year with a great mindset, because now he's the leader of the defense as far as the DBs, okay? He's been under the wing under other veterans, kind of playing in the mix and things like that. Now it's more like, okay, looking at this, it's kind of like, hey, it's on me now. And, if Byard can hear me on this, he knows this. Blue Dawn, Blue Dawn, Blue Dawn. Okay. That's an MTSU thing. Okay. So that's how he needs to play. He needs to play like he's getting up every morning, ready to work. And, I think that this year, last year, Kevin Byard, usually was around the football. If the football was in the air, somebody's knocking it down to get in the pick, it was Kevin Byard. He was nowhere to be found. He made bad tackles. He made bad angles on tackles. Even the run that Lamar Jackson had last year in the playoffs for the touchdown, Kevin Byard had a terrible angle. We know Lamar Jackson's the best running quarterback we've ever seen. But at the same time, Byard usually makes that play. And so, I've been watching. I follow him on Instagram. I know folks that he works out with and things like that. Byard is putting in work. He's putting in major work, and he just seems focused. And I really think he's like, man, look, this is year 5 for me. I'm ready, okay? Janoris Jenkins, welcome to Nashville. Let me show you how we get it done around here, right? Amani Hooker, hey, welcome. Now you're the undeniable starter now. You ain't got to worry about Vaccaro and playing time. You're here with me. Let me talk to you. Christian Fulton, the young guys. Caleb Farley, Elijah Molden. Come here. Let me talk to y'all. I'm Kevin Byard. I've been an all-pro in my career, okay? I've been one of the top interceptors in the league since I've been here, okay? I get interceptions. I make plays. I think with that mindset, Kevin Byard will be back. I think Kevin Byard will make the biggest impact in training camp. I think he's going to show that leadership ability and say, y'all forgot about me last year. Even Deion Sanders didn't know who I was just 2 years ago when I made all-pro. I got to make it happen, and it starts in training camp. So, Blue Dawn, let's go. All right, as far as my rookie. So this guy made a funny Instagram post that made it worldwide, man. He was talking about his phone bill, okay? He talked about how he's like, man, it's the first time that I've ever had to pay a phone bill at 24 years old because his mom has been paying the bill, right? It made it around the circles. I was like, who said this? Rashad Weaver, dude. Mm-hmm. I think Rashad Weaver in training camp could show out. Have you all seen how he looks on the field? Man, dude is like 6'6", like 280. He looks like a top defensive end the way he just looks. And then based on what I've seen, like in drills and things like that, he moves pretty quick. And so I'm looking at a defensive end standpoint and say, look, we got Harold Landry, who's on a contract year, who's probably my number 2 as far as a player that should show out in training camp, right? It's Harold Landry. But you got Harold Landry, you got Laurel Murchison. You have a few pass rushers, and of course you got Bud Dupree. But Bud Dupree right now is not on the field because he's still being healthy. So it's on you, Rashad Weaver. You have an ultimate time right now to make things happen, and I think he can. And I think, he was a beast at Pittsburgh, and Jacques and I talked about when Jacques was showing me, film. Who was it, Jacques? Patrick Jones. And I said, man, I ain't looking at Patrick Jones. Who is number 17? Who is that guy? Come to find out it was Rashad Weaver because on the field, he was all over the field. I was like, I like him. We need to draft him. And we actually did draft this guy in late, too, like 5th round. So I think that Rashad Weaver will have an opportunity to show what he can in training camp. And of all the rookies, he will have a great opportunity to do that. So I'm saying Rashad Weaver, man.
Okay, nice. I like it. Yeah, I'll never forget that, bro. That was hilarious because people, if y'all don't know, me and Hawk always talk on the phone, man. We just don't do the show. We talk, and I never forget that, Hawk. You like, man, bro, forget Patrick. Who is this dude? And I went back and I looked. I said, you know what? He right. Who is this dude? And I started looking. I said, no, he right. He got some dog in him. He just need to be coached up, but he got some dog in him. So.
And I'm gonna tell you this, Jacques, let Rashad Weaver ball out in his career, something like that. We're gonna always bring this story up, because it's relevant.
Always.
It's relevant.
Always.
It's relevant. I was like, man, that joke's about 7 foot out there. Who is this guy? Right. He's all over the field, and we drafted him.
And I think that's why Patrick Jones was successful, was because of Rashad Weaver.
Right.
We see you, Weaver. Right, we do. We see you. We've been seeing you.
Yep.
So, okay, man, great breakdown, bro. Really great breakdown.
Yep.
So that's
Blue Dawn, Byard. Blue Dawn, bro.
There's been a lot of disrespect on this team of late, man, and I'm not liking it. Okay, and really disrespecting our guy Ryan Tannehill. Okay. Man. And he's been getting disrespected so horrible, man, getting left out of the top 10 of quarterbacks, the top 5 quarterbacks. I mean, they got these lists that go around, which I don't like putting a lot of stock in because I just feel like it's for bragging rights. But I'm looking and I'm like, this is some disrespectful stuff. Tannehill, for the past 2 seasons he's been here, for 2019, threw for 2,742 yards and 22 touchdowns. Last year, 3,800 yards, 33 touchdowns, right? Oh, talk to me, man. What's going on with this disrespect on Tannehill, man? This ain't right, dog. We need a perspective, my brother.
So I think people are still, I think they look at Ryan Tannehill as a middle of the pack quarterback, not top 10, probably like 15 or 16 in the middle of the road. And I think they keep looking at the Miami Dolphin tape, right? That's what they keep looking at. Even though if they realize, they go back and look at his stats, they'll see that Ryan Tannehill has thrown for 4,000 yards several times in his career. So he was no fluke in Miami either. Miami's roster was just poor. They did not have a good roster. They did not, especially on offense. They didn't have a running game, definitely have no receivers, okay? And so even some of the receivers he did have, they made plays. He got them paid, okay? So I think that's the problem. I think people still not over the Miami Dolphin days. I really don't. And I think it's hard for people to say, oh, yeah, man, Ryan Tannehill is definitely a top 10 quarterback. Now, another thing I think it is, too, is, oh, he's only doing that. He's only successful because of Derrick Henry. It's not so much that I don't think people don't see his success, because you name a quarterback stat, he's top 5 in everything, right? Completion percentage. You look at, touchdowns, average, all those things. He's like top 5 in everything, okay? And it's like, wow, like when you look at it, it's like, man, Ryan Tannehill's name is popping up on every category, right? Everything. And even QBR. One point in time, most of the season, he was number 1 in the league in QBR. We're talking about Ryan Tannehill, folks, okay? And let's not forget Ryan Tannehill was a first-round pick. It ain't like people didn't know his talent coming into the draft, right? The former wide receiver turned quarterback. But I honestly think that folks think the only reason he's doing well is because of Derrick Henry. And if we didn't have Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill would be like number 20, 25 in the league. I think that's what they think. But just like of anything, you still got to make plays, okay? You still got to make plays. And Ryan Tannehill has made plays since he's been in Nashville. And to say he's not at least top 10, you're smoking, okay? You're smoking. And all quarterbacks, the players around them affect them, okay? You're not going to sometimes get the same product. Okay, case in point. Just say now I'm not comparing him to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Tannehill. I get that. But if you put Aaron Rodgers on a team that don't have a lot of talent around him, his stats are not going to show, okay? I can't go out there wide receiver just being a person out there and he throws me the football and I make, 1,200 yards in a season. That's not going to happen, right? Your team, based on your talent of your team, helps the quarterback, okay? Another case in point, look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl last year, okay? Old man Tom Brady, okay? I'm not taking nothing away from Tom Brady's the GOAT. Tom Brady's the best, probably the best player to ever play football. Tom Brady's unbelievable. But you got to look at his roster. He has a hell of a roster. You got Mike Evans. You got Chris Godwin. You got Antonio Brown. You got Rob Gronkowski. He's got help. Put Tom Brady on the New York Jets. Watch what happens, right? Watch what happens, right? So, yes, we have Derrick Henry. Yes, we got A.J. Brown. Now we got Julio Jones. That helps. It does. But he still got to make the throw. He still has to make those plays. He still has to make those completions. And he's doing that. Most quarterbacks that are top in the league have help around them. It is very rare to have a quarterback and no help. You know what I mean? The only thing I can think of is maybe Tom Brady back in the Patriots days before the Randy Moss and Wes Welker, those guys. He still was doing pretty well. I mean, that's why he's the GOAT. I mean, that's another discussion. But I'm saying Ryan Tannehill's definitely top 10. He's not 15, 16, okay? You telling me players like Mitchell Trubisky's better than him? You telling me Phillip Rivers last year was better than Ryan Tannehill? Seriously, right? Those are some of the quarterbacks that they have him around as far as where he ranked last year. No way. If you put that, you need to quit your job as being a writer. If you think he's in that category, he's much better than that. The stats show that. Go Ryan Tannehill, tighten up, man. So what about for you, Jacques?
So for me, and great points, Hawk. For me, when I look at just the Tennessee Titans it's all going to tie in what I'm about to say. when Tannehill was with the Dolphins, like you said, they looked at Tannehill as, hey, he's just throwing, he's this, he's that. He's had a lot of injuries. Like you said, he didn't have a team around him. He got Matthews paid. He got, was it Landry paid?
Yes.
He's gotten guys, like you said, paid around him. The thing I think why a lot of people, a lot of analysts, a lot of just that, and you really hear from analysts, a lot of analysts, this is a new league. This is a passing league. Remember, the game that set the league to where it was passing was the Chiefs and the Rams game when they scored almost 100 points. It was 100 points total, but 55, 50 something, whatever. That's what they want to see because a lot of fans, not all fans, but a lot of fans like that quick thing. Quick. We want to score 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 quick. Remember, the Titans have an old school team, especially on offense. We are a run-first team. Run-first teams were 2012, 2013, 2000s. Running backs were very valued. They're still valued now, but not as much as the Patrick Mahomes. Remember, Tannehill doesn't throw for 300 yards a game. If he threw for 300 yards a game, then that's when he'll get his respect and say, oh, yeah, Tannehill is a top 5 quarterback because he throws for 300 yards a game.
Facts.
Josh Allen. They put Josh Allen up there. Why? Because Josh Allen throws for 300, 400 yards a game. Patrick Mahomes. Give me another quarterback, Hawk.
Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady didn't really do it last year because Tom Brady understands I need a team. And I think that's where a lot of people, and especially analysts and fans, need to get back to. You can't do this by yourself. Yes, you see Patrick Mahomes out here running for his life, throwing bullets, darts, and everything. But he's not throwing to air. He's throwing to his teammates, right?
Yep.
So the thing is, yes, you have a running back in Derrick Henry. And I think it's a lot of jealousy that goes in there too, because a lot of teams wish they had a Derrick Henry, a demigod that's back there that can take off and do it by himself because Derrick doesn't need help, right? So in Tannehill's mind, well, I don't have to be top 10, top 15. I'm just trying to win. And that's what I like about this team. They want to win. They're not worried about individual accolades and stuff like that. Like these analysts want them to be. And I'm going to keep quoting analysts, right? That say, hey, we got to do it by ourselves. There's a lot of analysts, a lot of former football players too. That's a lot of selfishness. But when I look at Tannehill knew what he was getting himself into when he came to the Titans. And he didn't really have no choice because it was a trade, but he liked it. He said, you know what? I have something I never really had in college he was a receiver in college, but I've never had something like that when I was with the Dolphins. I have a monster back here, a demigod named Derrick King Henry, okay? I can hand it to him, and I can turn around and just play action and do my thing. This is dope, right?
Yeah.
It almost imagine if they would have put Mariota in this situation and see how he would have turned out. But it's like the Lamar Jackson effect. You don't get on Lamar Jackson when he runs 100 times a game, right? You just don't do it. You don't do it. You say, oh, okay, he's in the right system. Oh, he's a top tier quarterback. But when we bring up and say, hey, well, he can't really throw, you can't say that about Lamar Jackson. He can throw. And then when it gets exposed, and all of a sudden, well, no, that ain't it. That ain't it. So then when you want to go and do it to Tannehill, well, Tannehill's a top 15, top 25 quarterback. Where's Sway? How Sway? But then it dawned on me because I got to thinking about this other day. I said, you know what? It's because the Titans don't throw it 100 times a game. They don't throw it 50 times a game. Because imagine if Tannehill had to throw it 50 times a game, that's when Tannehill tends to start to make mistakes. When Tannehill has to throw 50 times a game, that's when you see everything start to crumble and it's too fast paced. But when you slow it down, hand it to the king, break out, okay, we're going to do play action here. Okay, if I got to sit back in the pocket and take my time and go through my progressions, I can get you something. You see what I'm saying? So when I think about it, it all ties in together, not just with Tannehill, but I think that's where the hate comes in for the Titans and the disrespect is because we're a run team first. I've heard crazy stats like, well, Tannehill, he ain't going to be able to get Julio Jones the ball 10 times a game. I'm like, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. Why are we putting so much stock in where, hey, we have to do it? But then I thought about it too. I said, it's what type of league we're in now. We're in a passing league. That's where the NFL wants to go. That's where the NFL wants to make their money. And that's how they want to make their money. It's a passing league. So when I sit back and think, I said, if Tannehill comes out this year and he throws 300 yards a game, he'll be a top 5 quarterback. In their eyes, he'll be a top 5 quarterback, but he doesn't have to do it. And he can do it if he wants to. If Tannehill really wanted to, Audible, Omaha, go, right? And people, remember the playoff game, we lost it because of Tannehill. He threw an interception.
Yep.
So that's my break on it, man. I just feel like it's disrespect all across the board, and it all ties in to why they disrespect Tannehill. And yeah, I think, matter of fact, I think he got more respect when he was with the Dolphins than he did when he's with the Titans. It's crazy,
I got you. Yeah. I mean, people don't realize Ryan Tannehill did sign a big contract with the Dolphins after his rookie contract.
Yes.
So they saw something too, right?
Yep.
You don't just sign folks if you don't see something in the future. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He got hurt too.
It's a grudge, man. It's a grudge because a lot of them would be like, why he couldn't do that with the Dolphins? Well, he technically did. Y'all just didn't put a team around him. That's why. That's what makes our GM great. Our GM great. Your GM sucks. Okay.
Yep. That's right. So, speaking of, Miami and things in the state of Florida, we got to talk about culture, okay? And Tampa, Florida, of course, the home of the Tampa Bay Bucks, the home of the two-time Stanley Cup winners, the Tampa Bay Lightning. They also right now the home of the Toronto Raptors. So a lot going on in Tampa. But we're going to talk about the Bucks and their culture. Well, you have players like Shaq Barrett. You got players like Antonio Brown. You got players like Chris Godwin, players who stated, man, why would I make an extra, $500,000 to be somewhere else where I can be here in Tampa and stay with my team? Like everyone from Tampa, they want to be there. They want to stay in Tampa. And it's a recipe probably to maybe win another Super Bowl who down the road, but then Tampa Bay's going to be a problem over the next 3 years. Okay. So Jacques, you and I have been talking about culture, and you talk about culture a lot. And, with the Titans and their culture and things, how do you feel about our culture right now, man? As of today, the month of July, 2021, Tampa's culture is amazing. I mean, how do you feel about here in Nashville, about our culture here with the Titans?
So I love it. And ever since the great GM, John Robinson, got hired on, that was one of his visions, was changing the culture, because the Titans prior to that didn't have a culture. We just had a bunch of dudes doing a bunch of just things, right? Playing football, just out there doing stuff. And if you look at winning teams, they have a winning culture. They have a culture. I iterate the Steelers, who have a culture, who always tends to be great. Even if they have a down year, they tend to be great. They'll be great the next year. The Packers have a culture. The Chiefs have a culture, right? The Patriots have a culture. Teams that tend to continue to be trash don't have a culture, like the Falcons, the Texans. The Texans have always had good teams. They just don't have no culture, right? When you look at the Titans, they stick to their identity. We'll run team first, everything else second, right?
Yep.
You look at that. The thing that I think was missing was trying to get those great players. And what's happened with our culture now, when I look at our culture and our identity, when we have players like Derrick Henry, who could have broke the bank, one, who could have went somewhere else and made more money, say that, hey, I want to stay here and I want to win, that tells me something about your culture. When I hear Darren Bates, and shout out to their podcast, Darren Bates has a good podcast, man. Shout out to them brothers. They kill it. He's even iterated. He said, man, when he played for St. Louis and when he played for the Titans, it was two different things. It was one of those things where he said, man, the Titans and the St. Louis roster, locker rooms were like some of the best locker rooms I've ever been in. And he even said, man, I had fun. I've done what I think. Woo, woo, woo. And I'm like, I said, that's dope. I said, that tells me your culture is where it needs to be. Okay. So about the culture. And when I look at the Titans and their culture, we're building for replacements, right? Mm-hmm. And I say this all the time. When John Robinson drafts, he drafts your replacement. We've seen it with Vaccaro, Amani Hooker, right? Yep. Jarrell Casey, Jeffrey Simmons, right? Byard came in here, his replacement will come in here sooner or later. It's just that thing. When he traded for Ryan Tannehill, and Tannehill came in here and has been doing what he's doing, that's a culture thing. When I hear Julio Jones comes in here and says, hey, this culture is dope, it makes me feel like I'm in college again. That tells me that your culture is amazing. I've heard Tampa Bay, a lot of those players, like you iterated earlier, hey, we're going to stay here. We're going to make sure we stay here. We're going to make sure we do what we got to do to win another championship because of the culture. The coaching staff is cool. Everything is cool. So when I see other players wanting to come to your team, that means your culture is amazing. And John Robinson, it took him, 4 or 5 years to build this culture up. And to get it, I think it was we got John Robinson 2017, I believe, or 2018, 2017.
One of those years, yes.
Okay, it was one of them. Y'all can correct this in the comment section. But when he got here, that was one of his goals, was to build a culture. Now, when I think of the Titans, I think of the Titans as Titans are going to be in the playoffs. How far do we get is the question. We got to the championship or whatever, but we got to you're going to at least get to the playoffs if you join the Titans, right? When I also look at it and I think about this too, you're always going to have players, right? And when I look at this past year's draft that we had, I said, you know what? The Isaiah Wilson draft, and I'm always going to call this the Isaiah Wilson draft because dude messed it up for everybody.
Yep. I
said that draft, we'll talk about that in a minute, was trash. That was one of John Robinson's worst drafts since he's been here. I said this past draft that we just had when we got Caleb Farley and Dylan Roos and all those players, I said this is the next set of players that's going to replace the next set of players, right? It's the culture. It almost reminds me of what the Patriots used to do. It's the same thing the Patriots used to do. Get in there, get your replacement, come in here, we're going to continue this winning culture. So it's a winning culture to where I feel like the Titans are going to be on top for a while, and it's going to be fun to see. And as you said, this Hawk, and that's a bold statement, that if the Titans defense is mediocre, we'll win Super Bowls, or at least a Super Bowl. I can see us literally doing that with this team that we got and the culture that we got. And when he drafts players, they're team first guys, they're football guys, and they're ready to handle business. And that's what I like. Team first football guys that's going to come in here and they're going to work hard. Not going to say too much, but they're going to work hard with their play on the field. So what about you, Hawk?
Jacques, you spitting, bro. Hey, man, you all on that, bro. Like, seriously, bro. Facts, no paper, that entire piece, man, about culture, dude. Like, that is a fact, dog. That is a fact to the core. And when I look at the word culture in the dictionary, it says the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarding collectivity. Okay. So what does that mean? So you work together as humans as a collective group. And I do think that from what I've seen, the culture is here. Okay. The culture was here last year. The culture was here the year before. Okay. The culture is continuing to build. And I don't see that from a lot of other teams in the NFL. I don't see culture being a major positive. Okay. And for those teams that have, you see them win, right? And has there been teams with negative culture and they win? Yes, there's been that, right? When, you peel back the layers, you'll hear about this player hated this player. They just made it happen or whatever because of pure talent. Now we have talent. Okay. Last year, our talent was okay. It was all right. Our defense was trash. I don't care how it's cut. Our defense was terrible last year. Now we do have talent on defense. It's just right now a matter of putting it all together. The culture's there. Can we put the talent together to make this happen? That's the question. I think we can. As to why I've made the situation to say that we can win the Super Bowl because the culture's there. The culture's there. It's there. Put the talent together. You got this sandwich, right? The talent culture sandwich. You put it together and make a magic sandwich and make it happen. Okay. So John Robinson's done an unbelievable job. Mike Vrabel has done an unbelievable job in creating a culture of consistency, creating a culture of this is what we do. We are a running football team. We're going to run the ball. We're gonna play tough. We're gonna hit people in the mouth. We're gonna do a really good job in not making a lot of turnovers. We're not gonna make a lot of penalties. These are things the Titans have done for 3 years as to why we have been in the playoffs 3 years in a row. You know what I'm saying? 3 out of the last 5 years, the Titans have made the playoffs because of culture. We haven't. And Tampa has culture, and they just had it just last year. Now the year prior, they had culture as well, but just couldn't quite get it together, especially on the defense. Now, on the last year, the defense was already there. It was just a matter of to say, offense, just do what y'all do. Our defense, we got the culture here. We ride for each other every day, right? And they did that on offense. You bring Tom Brady, a guy that's going to bring that culture. You got Bruce Arians. Those guys bring culture. We had that same dynamic here in Tennessee. Derrick Henry loves it here. As you said, Jacques, players, just like we talked about Tampa, who say, okay, I could make an extra $200,000, $300,000 with this team, or I could stay here in Nashville. There's no state taxes. This is a winning culture. You might make that money up in the playoffs. might as well just stay here, right? Instead of doing all that moving, going to a team that you might not never make the playoffs, might as well stay here. Let's make this culture happen, and let's do that. You know what I'm saying? We have so many former players of Titans who play for other teams that are still here, right? And even on our roster, when you talk to the players about being here, they love it here. They're here. They're here in the offseason in Nashville working out. They are working. So if you have a player that's not a part of that culture, you look at Isaiah Wilson, right? Well, get them on out of here, right? That's how at your job. You have culture vultures. When they leave, doesn't it feel better when you come to work? Like, man, I'm so glad they quit or got fired. Woo! Right? Woo! Right. The people that we have here now are people that want to be here, and that's here in Tennessee. And so I'm very happy with the culture here. We have a winning culture. Let's keep building this year, next year. Let's keep it moving, man. I'm happy for him.
And great point. And by the way, John Robinson was hired in January 14, 2016. Okay. So it was 2016. So he's been here for a while, man, doing this thing. It's amazing. And by the way, Deshaun Kaiser, the backup quarterback that's fighting for a backup role, which I think he'll win. He said, man, I love it here in Nashville, man. He said, I want to stay here. I want to win the backup role to stay here. And I think he fits our offense to where, hey, I think he might can do some things, but that just goes back to the culture, man. So definitely, man. Hey, Titans building something. Yep. So Hawk, we know, I'm trying to say it without getting our video flag, but the virus, right? We know what the virus did to the world last year, and we know what impact it had on the sports world of last year. What type of impact do you think it had on last year's rookies, and even if it's having an impact now? What do you think? Oh,
man, dude, it had major impact to the rookies last year. Not only in Tennessee, just throughout the league. You know, they would be practicing one day, the next day they'd be home. Then they practice the next day, next thing they'd be home because of the virus, right? Not knowing, okay, you know, there was no consistency. A lot of them didn't even go. There was no mini camp. You know, it was really nothing really going on last year for the rookies to sort of get their feet wet, to sort of have a solid ground like rookies have been forever in the NFL. So it made a major impact for all the rookies. Now, me personally, I'm not going to make that an excuse for the way that our rookies played last year upon just pure talent. Okay. I think that, you know, I think Christian Fulton, Darrington Evans, those guys, Laurel Murchison will be make a difference this year. They will. Okay. I would just say overall, our draft class last year, it just didn't pan out. It just didn't. But I do think the fact they didn't get a chance to practice, sort of get their feet wet or whatever. Now let's really see what's going on now. Okay. Because now they're in camp. They're a year older, year wiser. This year will show me more about the rookies last year than it will this year. Okay. This year will show that. Okay. And even the rookies this year, you should have a sort of a step up versus the rookies last year. I still feel even now, I still think the virus impacted the draft this year because a lot of players played like 3 games last year. So, you know, it's kind of like you think about Trey Lance, the 49ers quarterback. He played like 1 game. And he was in the top 5 picks in the draft. So you didn't really get a clear picture of what you're drafting, right? You don't know who you drafted because there's not a lot of tape. But it was more tape of players this year than last year. So I'm very interested to see in training camp this year the fact that the virus is no longer a part of the equation. They're going to be in camp 100% ready to go. And the rookies from last year, if they felt like, man, it was unfair because I didn't get a chance to practice, I understand that. And they're right in that regard, right? Now let's see how well you do this year because now you're in training camp. Now you're in practice full go. Can those players, Isaiah Wilson is gone. That was a huge bust, the worst bust we've ever had. Top 10 bust in NFL history, okay? To have a rookie in the first round, top 25 pick, that didn't even play but two plays on special teams, and he got cut, okay? You can't be worse than that. But other players, like I said, Christian Fulton, Darrington Evans, Chris Jackson, Laurel Murchison, those guys, you know, what are you going to do this year? Right? The opportunities will be there for you, sir. What are you going to do? And you can't say because of the virus, okay? You're here now. It's time to settle down and play ball. Same with the rookies this year. So I'm excited to see how the rookies from last year do this year, man. What about for you, man?
So it's the same. And great breakdown, Hawk. With that, what I noticed last year when the draft happened, like you said, it was a huge impact on them. And like you said, no excuse because you got to get your play. Your play comes in the fact. I don't care if you're playing any football, but when you're transitioning from college to the NFL, it is a bump in the road. It is a big bump in the road. Unless you're a high draft pick and you can come and pick things up fast. Training camp is needed. Okay, rookie training camp, mini camp, training camp. Period. Last year, those rookies they didn't have a training camp. They had Zoom. Okay, they had a Zoom call trying to learn football on Zoom, and it's one of those things where it's like, how am I supposed to get vital reps on a Zoom call? And I think that's where it impacted them humongously. So now when I look at this year, these rookies have rookie mini camp. And I think actually last year's rookies should have been in this rookie's mini camp just to get viable reps. They're voluntary. I mean, a lot of, and that's one thing about the culture too. To go back, it tells you something about your culture when veterans come in for a voluntary mini camp. That tells you something, right? But a lot of those rookies came in for voluntary mini camp. Now I did hear about Christian Fulton making some plays in voluntary camp. Now this ain't with pads, this ain't nothing. But when you have a training camp, it allows you to make mistakes. When you have a preseason, it allows you to make mistakes. It allows you to go in there and say, okay, I messed up here, boom, boom, boom. Now, the impact that I think it'll have this year, I don't think it'll have a big impact, but at the same time, I feel like the rookies last year, don't be surprised if you still see major mistakes from them because of they're still learning. You see what I'm saying? They're still learning. And it's one of those things is you're trying to get over that hump. Now, will I say the game slowed down for them? Yes. I will say the game might have slowed down a little bit because what I've seen from Larrell Murchison in minicamp look pretty fluent. He's hitting the bags. He's doing that. That's something that they didn't do last year, right? Those vital reps. Now, imagine if Kerry Combs was still here and he was coaching up Christian Fulton. How good Christian Fulton would have been. You see what I'm saying? Versus on Zoom with the new DB coach, and you're like, okay, hey, your back pedal needs to be this way. I'm like, well, I can't do it. But what am I doing, right? So, and that's where it comes into play where you have to put the work in the off seasons too. Are you putting the work in the off season to make yourself great? So that all goes hand in hand. You know what I mean? It's not just the training camp or anything. If it was even last year, and I don't know the rules, if they could have done that, because there was a lot of rules when it came to the virus and they couldn't be together. Because, you know, Titans almost got fined for that because of Tannehill, them throwing practicing. Like, what was the rules? Can I still practice? Can I go outside? Can I go outside and at least try to do some drills? Right. So I think it had an impact. I think this year's rookies, this is why I like preseason. I know a lot of people don't like preseason, but this is why I like preseason because you get to see, especially this year, we need to see what Larrell Murchison, Christian Fulton, we've seen what Chris Jackson did. Chris Jackson was pretty decent. Tierra Tart. We need to see what those guys can do in preseason. And if I was them, I'm playing them the whole time. I'm not touching Jack Rabbit. Caleb, we know he ain't playing. He ain't playing the first two games. I'm calling it right now. We need to see what Eric Molden, rookies, veterans, sit back, relax. Maybe get your rep or two in the last game, but the rest of y'all go out there. Go out there and see what you can do because we need to see what we have for our future. Remember, this is our future, not nothing now, but our future. So I believe that with the C19, man, it's impacted, but I feel like they can make it up this year because they have the resources now to go out there and be great. Last year, they didn't have the resources. And I say that's still not an excuse, but they didn't have the resources to go out there and at least be great. So I think this will help them learn the game a lot more. And I think what we thought we were going to see last year, we might see this year out of the rookies last year versus this year. So,
okay. I got you, brother. I got you, man. Okay. All right. Well, I tell y'all this, man. Hey, Jacques, your microphone's smoking, bro, because, hey,
yours
you
too,
on fire,
bro.
man. Hey, you know what I'm saying?
Yours too, bro.
Yeah.
Yours too, bro.
Yeah. So Well, folks, that is the show, y'all. As always, thank you for joining in and watching the show. We appreciate it. As always, cannot wait till the season starts, man. I mean, cannot wait. It's going to be a phenomenal season. For those as well that want to check us out on Instagram, check us out at Tennessee Titans Weekly. We are on Twitter at Titans Weekly 24/7. As well as if you want to email us, we are at Tennessee Titans Weekly at gmail.com. And as mentioned in previous shows, we still have merchandise on sale. So click the link there at the bottom of the video. Check us out. We have many from shirts to wallets to cell phone cases, you name it. It's got our logo on it. We got Facts No Paper, you name it. We got it. Check us out, man. Check us out.
Right. And shout out to the Raw Room. That's Darren Bates and them podcast. And Jalen, I think his name is Jalen Mills. Shout out to them brothers, man. They got a cool little podcast. But now, Hawk, you're right. Also, people, cut your notification bells on by the subscribe button, because that tells you, hey, when we go live and when we posting any content. Also, share the video. Like I said, it's every show. Share the video to your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, your dog, your cat. Share it to any football fan that's a football fan, even the Tennessee Titans or just football, period. Man, we love the Titans, but we know our football as well. So definitely share, subscribe, do what you got to do. Also, we got a goal of 2,000 subscribers by October. Let's get to that goal, man. 2,000 subscribers. Let's get to that. And shout out to Titans and Truth, man. Congratulations to you, brother, with the opportunity that you got coming up. I'll let him tell y'all, but if you don't know, hey, congratulations, man.
Yep.
Well deserved.
Absolutely. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, to you and yours, we can't wait. Like I said, when the regular season gets here, hey, believe me, y'all, we got some fire ready. And we mention that every year, and we've stood by that, and we got more coming. So keep your ears and eyes open. Keep that notification bell popping. We'll be here. All right?
Yes, sir.
So to you and yours, tighten up. And as always, Jacques, facts.
No paper.